There we
Everyone,
go.
thank you for joining our webinar today. So today we're talking about hiring in 2026 and beyond and how AI is changing recruitment. We've got about an hour booked for this webinar, but we're going to spend about half an hour on the presentation before moving on to questions at the end. Some introductions to everybody here on the webinar. So I'm Juliet, I'm the Director of HR Operations here at Impact HR. We are joined by Grace, our HR Coordinator, who is managing the webinar in the background for us and will be fielding your questions. And today we're really lucky to have some brilliant speakers from the HR tech industry with us, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from our guest presenters. So we have Cal and Ty from TeamTailor and Sam from Tugela People. And I will just let you guys introduce yourselves as well. So starting with Cal.
Thank you, Juliet. Yes, my name's Cal. I'm the bearded one in the photo. The small one is my son. But yes, I'm a partnership manager here at TeamTailor. I've been in the recruitment partnerships sector for the last 6 years and really excited to speak with you today about a topic that's very relevant at the moment. But yes, now I'll let it pass over to Ty.
Right, Cal. Hey guys, thanks for joining today. So I'm Teilo, and I am a sales manager at the same place as Cal, TeamTailor, and I've worked here for about 5 years or so. So worked with various different platforms in the past, but been helping TeamTailor improve the recruitment processes for lots of different companies. So yeah, lovely to meet you. Excited to be here and talk a little bit about AI and how it's going to, help improve things for the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Sam,
Yeah, hi. Hi, I'm Sam, and I look after the managed service team here at Tugela. I've been in HR tech now for about 6 years, and Tugela People currently partner with TeamTailor. And I'm here to talk about integrations with you a bit later on.
Lovely. Thanks so much, guys. So as you know, we are holding this webinar through GoToWebinar. And if this is your first time using the platform, then just to note that you are all muted and your cameras are off, so we can't see you, but hopefully you can see us. We do encourage you to submit any questions throughout the session. You can do this using the questions panel within the platform. The exact place of where the questions panel is for you may be different depending on whether you're accessing the webinar through your browser or your desktop application. So have a look to make sure you know where that is if you have any questions for us. We will aim to address as many questions as possible, and we have got a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar where all of the speakers here today will be available to answer your queries. And we'll also be running some polls throughout the session today as well. So when a poll is launched, you will see a pop-up window appear on your screen, and it will allow you to select the response that best reflects your view. So it's really good to get your participation throughout the webinar as well, so do look out for those. So just before we begin, just to take a moment to introduce Impact HR really and explain the different ways that we can support organisations like yours. Obviously today we're talking about recruitment and the hiring process, but we support the whole spectrum of HR really. So we provide practical HR solutions that are designed very differently. So whether you're an SME or whether you're a large organisation, we can deliver support that aligns with your objectives. Our approach to supporting our clients is really flexible, and we want to help businesses improve their efficiency, maintain compliance, obviously, with employment legislation, and really just reduce the burden of those day-to-day HR tasks and responsibilities that take up your time. We want to give you, as a business leader, time to focus more on your strategic priorities, like growing your business and obviously supporting your workforce as well. We work with a wide range of organisations, and we understand that the people-related challenges that businesses encounter at every stage of their journey. And our reputation for supporting our clients is really built on our specialist knowledge, our practical guidance, and really our commitment to helping you reach positive outcome for your business. So whether you require support with things like handbooks or contracts, or if you need an experienced HR consultant to lead a disciplinary or a grievance or a formal meeting with one of your employees, then we are here to provide our expert advice and support. We do have a variety of options in terms of our services. We have retained options, pay as you go, project-based consultancy as well. And all of our packages, we try to make them bespoke as much as we can, because we appreciate that every business has different requirements. We want to work with you to create that solution that fits your size and your structure and the needs of your organisation. So if any of these are a requirement in your organisation, then don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We will share our contact details at the end. So moving on to today's session then, just to talk through a few of the things that we'll be discussing in the world of recruitment. So how AI is already shaping hiring decisions, which is such an interesting topic that we will hear from TeamTailor on. Challenges in recruitment that organisations are facing right now. The opportunities and the risks for employers, and where AI can add that real value, but also where it can potentially fall short as well, and being aware of those things. What candidates now expect from us as organisations in terms of the recruitment process and their candidate experience too. And how businesses can stay human whilst embracing that technology. So how to improve your hiring processes without losing that human touch. And finally, we will look at some practical steps you can take away and put into action in your business. So if you're involved in HR or talent acquisition, business growth as a business owner or leader, hopefully this session will give you some practical insight into what's coming next in the world of hiring your next talent. So we know that recruitment is no longer just about filling roles. It's about navigating complexity in terms of the process, candidate expectations and systems, now AI too. And at Impact HR, we've been involved in recruitment throughout our careers in HR, really, supporting our client base with their queries around recruitment, challenges that they see, and also managing the recruitment process on behalf of our clients too. And we are very aware that the hiring process has changed more in the last months to the last couple of years than in previous years. And the main challenges that we are currently seeing directly, but also through our client base, include things like talent shortages, despite seeing high volumes of applications coming through, which inevitably leads to overwhelmed hiring managers, many of whom are taking on the tasks of hiring on top of their busy roles. They are seeing pressures of time to hire to meet the business need if workload ramps up, or to backfill an internal role. For example, if somebody leaves and they have a short notice period, when you're up against that time of a good employee leaving the organisation, it can create that pressure to hire. We are as well seeing more and more AI generated CVs that all seem very generic, with that lack of differentiation in style or tone that can be ever so important really in the screening process, just to find the right fit for your company. And even now, the AI assisted interviews. So with the rise of remote interviews taking place, we know candidates have been using AI to their advantage, either to give them information on the spot to answer interview questions, or when AI is used to maybe impersonate the applicant during the interview as well. So all potentially influencing the recruiter's decision-making process, and unfortunately not for the benefit of the organisation, which we have seen then through things like skill shortages in candidates that had seemed to be great at interview stage, but then was not able to demonstrate that a few months into the role, leading to performance management issues and high turnover, unfortunately, as well. So with all of these challenges, against the backdrop of trying to ensure the candidate has a good experience as well in the hiring process, is a key part of the journey to display your employer brand and culture of being that great place to work. So many things that the employer has to think about and fit in to the hiring process. And again, here at Impact HR, we sit alongside clients across multiple sectors who are dealing with these challenges daily. So let's now take a look at the technology, particularly platforms like TeamTailor, who are addressing these challenges in practice, and hear what is going on in the world of hiring. So over to TeamTailor.
Wonderful. Thank you, Juliet. I think we're actually starting with a poll. So yeah, just keen to understand of you. if you're using an ATS or not. Oh, good mix. Wonderful. I think that's pretty much everyone answered. So yeah, a good mix there. A few that aren't using one, don't think they need one. A few that think that are satisfied in using one, but some are looking to change as well. So interesting mix. Cool. So for those of you that aren't using one, what is an ATS? An ATS is a category of software application that is designed to facilitate, manage, and streamline the recruitment process. Guys, I'm just joking. Not going to be boring you to death today. This is going to be a short and hopefully punchy and engaging presentation. So let's talk about the state of hiring and discuss how we can start to shift towards the future. So hiring, as well as many other aspects of commerce, business, and of course other aspects of the online world, has entered an authenticity crisis, unfortunately. AI is transforming how candidates present themselves, and what used to be signals, i.e. pieces of information we use to judge whether a candidate is a good hire or not, are now easy to generate and forge. And to quote Deloitte and their recent Human Capital Trends report, AI-generated content is challenging authenticity, making it difficult to distinguish genuine talent from fabrication. Of course, this is going to be the consequence of AI being readily available to everyone. But again, why is this happening? And it's simple, really. It's easier than ever to produce, to create, to change things. And I don't know if anyone wants to actually answer this in the chat, but wondering if anyone actually knows where this place is on this slide. Not going to check it, but yeah, maybe you got it, maybe you didn't. This is Bristol, which is actually my hometown. And wondering now if you've spotted something missing from the picture. Perhaps the reflection gave it away. So it's easier to produce and harder to trust what's put in front of us now. And whilst a 245-foot suspension bridge is perhaps easy to spot, trouble of identifying AI-written CVs, AI-generated portfolios, even AI-assisted interviews like Juliet alluded to, is not easy to spot. So, you know, AI-generated CVs can easily exaggerate skills, or, you know, the AI can invent results to ultimately maximize the candidate's chance to progress. And yes, candidates are submitting work they didn't actually make or weren't involved with as well. So hugely problematic. And the consequence of this is that, like we said, we can no longer trust the information we use to determine good fit for candidates. Signals like CVs, experience, portfolios, and even interview answers that have been I guess, proxies for ability over the years are becoming more obstructive than helpful during this authenticity crisis. The deeper problem for hiring extends beyond forgery, though, and performance is even harder to predict for other reasons. Roles and skills are constantly changing, and that's not only because of AI, but because of the wider impacts of you know, the global economy, and the remote world post-COVID is still very much unstable. So not only is the validity of past experience in question, but it's less reliable at predicting future outcomes. We can't just assume because someone's very good at what they used to do that they're going to be good at something in the future. And that's just the result of the rapidly changing world. And many qualifications, even things like university degrees, are becoming outdated as a proxy of ability. And just to quote a few things again from Deloitte research, workers are experiencing significant changes year to year to their roles, and 41% of employers plan workforce changes due to shift in skills by 2030 as well. So what is the breaking point? With more data than ever, which is often positioned as a good thing, there's unfortunately less clarity on what's real, on what's tangible. Again, Juliet mentioned this, we have more applications and perfect candidates than ever before to assess. More automation on both sides, again, making it very easy to ping across a perfect application, match all your supposed skills to the job description, causing huge amounts of applications. And how do we deal with those as recruiters? This ultimately gives us less confidence in the decisions we're making throughout hiring. And 72% of leaders say that data overload has actually stopped them making decisions. And this is because data is ultimately more abundant than ever. There's too much of it. So identity and capability when it comes to hiring are often unclear. So whether the candidate can actually do what they're saying or what their CV is saying is unclear. And moving on to actually the workforce data that organizations have as well, only 5% feel that they're making strong progress in actually improving the trust of that data. So the data they have on their employees and in fact candidates, they feel like they really can't trust it. So again, you can see how that's going to lead to freezing decisions and slower action, and again, ultimately falling behind. Through all this, there will be winners and losers. So companies relying on CVs and poor signals will really struggle and lag behind. Companies designing robust decision systems and sticking to them consistently will win. And again, from Deloitte, organizations with strong decision practices are significantly more likely to outperform. So if you have a process and you believe in that process and it's built on strong foundations and you stick to that consistently, you are more likely to get better outcomes as a result. Wonderful. Okay, I think we're going to have a second poll now, and I will pass to Ty after that.
Thank you, Cal. Let's see how this poll goes down. Do you use AI within your hiring process today? I know there are a few users who aren't using an ATS currently, so it'll be interesting to see how you're utilizing AI to help with recruitment. A lot of no's. Surprising. I thought there'd be a lot more yeses.
Yeah, very interesting. The majority are in fact no's, following my own heart. But indeed, yes, AI is unfortunately inevitable for us who would rather it went back to the old days. But you know, there are some massive benefits to having it in hiring, and Ty can talk more about that.
Wicked. Cool. Right. Over to me. I assume my screen is sharing okay. Here we go.
Good.
Perfect. Cool. Right. So there is, I guess, a new belief, and that belief is the future of hiring is in making better decisions. So not just throwing tools at it, not throwing more automation at the problem. We basically need better ways to evaluate people. Interestingly, there was the Oracle study as well that said 85% of leaders regret or question past decisions, and I think that's because they've had tools that's not enabled them to do that properly, which can be difficult. So what AI is doing and platforms are doing is enabling your hiring managers to ultimately make better decisions, more informed decisions, and decisions that you won't regret down the line. So I guess what is the role of AI? So platforms generally, the stance is generally that AI supports decisions. So especially here at TeamTailor, that's something we really focus on. So it's supporting better decisions, but humans are actually owning the decisions. So it's there as like a a sidekick essentially, rather than a robot you switch on that does everything for you. So the best type of companies combine sort of both in the right way. So another Deloitte study that we've researched, or they've researched, that we're using here, is that AI should sharpen human judgment but not replace it. And in that same report, it said that currently 60% of executives already use AI to support decision making. So it's obviously something that is currently going on right now. There's a big boom in it, and it's something that we probably should try and keep up with as best we can. So what's the new way to win, essentially? Successful companies, they design better hiring systems to drive hiring decisions and ensure consistency across their people, process, and technology. So to do this, they'll bring in various different frameworks. So it could be a structured evaluation, using AI as a thinking partner and a task enabler, identifying and tagging strong signals, and consistent data trust and usage throughout the hiring journey, essentially. So most tools weren't built for this, so where is the gap? I think, most hiring tools, like I mentioned, they're not designed for this new modern way of looking at recruitment and making better decisions. They're essentially built to, store data, track pipelines, in effect, work as a spreadsheet that just, looks a bit more glitzy and it's a bit more attractive. But what they're not actually doing is they're not improving that decision making. They're not enabling workflows, and they're not making AI systems usable, essentially. So it's a big shift from that to how things are working right now, and that shift needs to come soon. So whereas leading platforms like TeamTailor and lots of other platforms are built for better hiring decisions. So ultimately used for, designed for usability, supporting real workflows, making AI accessible as well. By embedding it into a platform, it just means that it's easy for you to, work with, enable, and switch on, and incorporate in your sort of day-to-days, and just enables a better hiring system overall, really. So I think, Cal mentioned this a few times. So essentially what these systems aim to do is with less noise, essentially, it enables us to work with the noise a little bit more. So instead of, just looking at all the noise and getting confused and regretting your decisions, it uses signal to identify, what's going on and ultimately make better decisions. So they have automation to remove repetitive work, which frees up time for candidate evaluation. They're designed with hiring managers in mind, so they actually like using the platform and engaging with your hiring system for better collaboration. There's embedded AI, which is embedded in a usable way throughout the hiring journey in a manner that's familiar to users. And finally, they bring employer brand into the forefront to attract better candidates from the start of the process. So that's something typically a lot of platforms didn't have before, whereas now it's very much, candidate centric. People are really interested in, what the company's all about, what their brand is, what they're buying into when they accept that role. So that's another area that's really important that companies are incorporating. So yeah, leading platforms, they don't just manage hiring, they actually improve it in the long run. Cool. So I guess the cornerstone of how great platforms are designed, deployed, how they're designed and deployed is grounded in the experience. So if the experience for not only candidates but recruiters and hiring managers is high, then adoption and action is supercharged. So I can't really stress how many tech companies are getting this wrong at the moment. So their approach is here are features, go and use them. But it actually should be, here are tools that you're going to be using that are going to really help enable you to do your job a little bit better, rather than just something that you log into and you try your best to work with, essentially. So like, for example, if you look at Apple, that's probably quite a big example. So in terms of their features, you know, there's probably other providers on the market that does a better job, if you look at it, that are actually cheaper than Apple. But because Apple's so user-friendly and easy to pick up, and it's quite an empirical way of using something, it means the uptake's a lot higher, which is why they're so popular, you know. And the other brands that actually are probably better in terms of, you know, what they offer aren't as popular, and that's also why Apple can charge the price they charge. So, you know, in a similar vein, that's what these newer sort of platforms are doing. You know, they're just systems that are easy to use and easy to implement and use, essentially, and help you with your hiring. So it just means that ultimately they can execute a bit better than they would with older sort of more legacy systems. So experience is critical when it comes to tech and process adoption and output. Cool. So the focus with AI needs to be in its connection to experience rather than solely functionality. So there's too much AI that's already, you know, thrown users across their tech stack. AI for, you know, AI's sake isn't going to move the needle, especially for, you know, the smaller businesses. Leading platforms will ensure that AI is embedded, familiar, and accessible to its users. Cool. So just to sort of finish up, I guess in an AI world, like, you know, better decisions win. AI will, you know, it will keep accelerating. We all know that. It's gone crazy over the past few months and years. Content will keep increasing. Signals will keep weakening, you know, so we've got all of this noise coming through. It's harder to spot, you know, the good candidates from the ones that maybe aren't so good for the role. So what we've really got to do is use this AI, adopt it in the right way to make sure that we're getting these signals and ultimately making better hiring decisions. So the companies that win in you know, this year and beyond, we feel like the ones that, you know, design better hiring systems, which will lead ultimately to better decisions. So, you know, that's something we really try and do here at TeamTailor. And there's lots of other, you know, providers in our space that do a really good job as well. Yeah, should hopefully help with the hiring, which, you know, it's so difficult at the moment. You know, there's lots of people out there looking for roles and things. So wicked, cool. I think we have another poll. Thanks for listening. I hope I didn't wrap it on too much, which I think we're going to throw up there in a second. Here we go. So from a candidate perspective, do you think we should accept the use of AI in the hiring journey? This is quite an interesting one, I would say. No. Probably
started off strong.
Probably so. Probably weren't so convincing.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about this question is, for the no's, how do you approach that from a hiring perspective to see if you can spot the ones that are using AI and, I guess, remove them from the process? And then for the yeses, how do you manage authenticity ultimately? Because you might be okay with them using AI to format a very nice CV and maybe structure things they have done, but, you know, how do you make sure they have done those things rather than being able to really quickly use a tool to match, you know, to essentially guess what the recruiter is looking for based on the job description, and to sort of charge what they can get away with. So yeah, surprising that that it's so close, but yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, I think, like you said as well, you're so busy with recruitment, especially if you're a high growth company and you've got lots of roles going on. Like, AI should definitely be that sort of like enabler to help you, you know, hire more quickly rather than doing the job for you, as we mentioned, which I know can actually be quite scary for some users and viewers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's interesting, but I think, you know, we've probably all got to sort of embrace it in some way or another, because it's going to be a big part of our lives at some point. Cool. Right, I think that poll has finished. Thanks for that, viewers.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was really, really interesting. Thank you both. I have got a few questions for you actually, but I think we're going to move on to Sam now, just to hear from Tugela, and then we'll move into our question section, if that's okay. You ready to go, Sam?
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I agree. It's really interesting to see how the world of recruitment is changing. Certainly since I started my HR journey in recruitment, probably a few too many years ago than I care to admit, but it's really interesting to see how that's shifting and changing in the modern market. So thank you very much for that insight. So for those who don't know who Tugela are, so we are the HR tech side of the Impact HR group. So we support companies in implementing and developing their HR technology. And in the last year, we've seen a big rise in the request for system integrations. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about what they are and how they could benefit you as well, as a way of automating and taking some of that heavy lifting to free up your teams in that decision making. So why do integrations matter? So the key reason for integrating your systems is to allow growth and to build your HR tech stack efficiently. It also, like I say, frees up your talent to be able to do the job that you've hired them to do, and to deliver your people strategies that you've got in place. So you may be wondering what an integration is. So put simply, an integration is a mechanism that sits between two systems, and it will take data from one system and put it into another at a certain trigger point. So when we talk about the recruitment to HR integration, typically it's at offer accept stage, and the candidate's process will then continue in your HR system through the integration, and then the onboarding can continue in the HR system. It doesn't have to just be on the HR system side though. You can also think about integrating into your IT systems, facility systems, if you do any background screening, just connecting all of these systems up. There's just a whole heap of benefits for you and your organization. So some of those are your time to hires. So customers that we have set up integrations for, they have seen their time to hire coming down, mainly because things aren't waiting on people's to-do lists. Everything is connected and automated, so everything is triggered at the time that it needs, and we don't then see any delays in getting that candidate on board. Another benefit is data accuracy. If you imagine that the candidate will put in all of their data at the point of application, in theory, that data does not need to be touched ever again. And that in itself just removes the risk for typos, potential assumptions that people may make, and we just see such efficiencies when it comes to keeping that data correct. And then the candidate. So the candidate's experience is much more streamlined. You can set up automations on emails, on forms and letters that need to be sent, giving them all the information that they need, so they know exactly what's expected of them. And it also means they don't have to be passed from person to person and dealing with lots of different teams. Everything can come together to send one clear message to the candidate as well. And then a personal favourite of mine is reporting. So it's a big thing to have all of your data ready for you at the touch of a button. Having an integration means that you can keep all of your data within your systems and utilise the reporting tools that come with those systems as well. And it's just so important, as we said, you know, in the world of AI, it can do what it can do if the data is there. So having things integrated and working together then means that you can utilize those tools much more efficiently as well. And then lastly, and probably arguably the most important, is compliance. So as you know, there's an ever-changing world of requirements in terms of compliance around systems and HR. So a recent an example of that would be the Fair Work Agency audit. So you can be safe in the knowledge that everything that you need, should you need it, is all there at the touch of a button. It reduces the risk of having to, or the need to download things and have things sitting on people's OneDrives or personal folders, which keeps everything more secure. It keeps all of your data within the compliance rules of whatever system that you are using, and is then keeping a record of that, so you've got everything for years to come as well. So I hope you found that useful. Maybe it might have triggered a thought of what systems can we integrate. I know that the companies that we have integrated, particularly with TeamTailor, have come away thinking, why didn't we do this sooner? And what else can we do as well? So if that's you, please reach out to me. Our contact details will be on further slides. And yeah, we'll see what is possible for you and your tech. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think it's really important just to think of it from the other side, of the implementation side as well, isn't it? And just making sure that it's all set up properly and to work efficiently. And again, have your hiring managers have the confidence in the system, knowing how to use it and knowing how it's going to help them. So thank you.
Yeah,
we have got time now for our questions for everybody on the webinar today. I think, Cal, you had a Q&A slide you were going to share with us. Brilliant, thank you. And if it's okay, can I kick off with a question? So I was just writing down a few things as you guys were talking, and I think it's something that we've all mentioned today, is the AI generated CVs that we are seeing and the volume of them. So can you tell us, like, how does TeamTailor and platforms similar actually help us spot the real and the genuine talent that is coming through? Because it does take up so much time, as we've talked about, going through the volume of CVs that we are getting. So what is genuine and what is not? So how does the system help with that?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, in today's day and age, the noise is absolutely crazy. And the thing is, people can use, things like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever to really doctor their CVs to match the job description. So it makes it even harder to like spot whether they're right for the role or not, because everyone says they're right for the role. So it's like you're just getting these perfect, applications through, and you're like, okay, where do I start? Because they're all absolutely on point. So, I mean, TeamTailor, like we said in the sort of presentation, we help provide the signal. So there's various different things within the platform that will, I guess, like pull out that signal, so then you can then make better hiring decisions. So things like, we've got AI sort of video screening that you can do. So instead of just relying on a CV, a candidate can upload like a video, or that first interview can also be on a video call within the platform, and that gives you the chance to really sort of understand that person outside of their CV and maybe make better decisions that way. We've got a lot of inbuilt features, such as the criteria searching. So when candidates apply for a job, essentially it will scan not just their CV but the questions they've answered in the application process. And then what it will do is it will give you signals or tick boxes on, okay, so we feel that this candidate's got this experience. And then when they move through to the inbox and the reviewing stage, it will give you sort of like set feedback on those CVs outside of just what's in the content. So again, that can really help with finding the sort of needles in the haystack. So I think they're really useful. I think one thing that works really well for when we're hiring here at TeamTailor is the interview kit. So when you're interviewing candidates, obviously it can be quite difficult to interview but also take notes at the same time. There's always that hiring managers to recruiters like, please give me the feedback, like I need it. But what TeamTailor can do is it can actually create a transcript as you're doing the video meeting, and it will fill out the questions for you. And what that does, it means you can be really present with the candidate, really understand what they're like, whether they're a good fit for the role from a cultural point of view, but also from a skill point of view. So it just gives you that sort of intimate time to really assess. So there's various other bits in the platform that do that. I won't talk about all of them, but
I think as well, being present in the interview allows you to see if someone's just being themselves or whether they are using some kind of AI or delaying slightly or shifty, being a bit shifty. I think that really enables that piece. So, whilst there is going to become tools that start to detect, what's likely to come up from AI, of course, you have this sort of false positive that will come off the back of that, which will be a problem. But yes, it's more about how can we get more time with candidates that look great on paper and are able to assess how authentic they're being.
Yeah, I think, and I think a final point just on that as well is analytics. Like, it's so important to have a good way of measuring success when you're hiring. And traditional systems, I think they have like an analytics suite that you can go in and you can report in and you can pull some reports, and it's all pretty simple. But we've tried to put AI in there as well. So what you can do is you can almost use like a ChatGPT search to create reports that you're looking for. So you're spending less time running through reports, trying to compare things side by side. At sort of a click of a button and a command, it can give you exactly what you're looking for across various different ranges, which again, I think can really help with processing a high volume of candidates that maybe it's hard to spot whether they are the right fit or not, basically.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I think it's really interesting for especially our clients to know that it's definitely going to help them in the process, but save them time at the end of the day, which is what they don't have, because they're usually smaller organizations. They don't have a dedicated hiring person. So yeah, that's really, really helpful. Thank you for all of that. I have a second question. Sorry, asking all the questions today. Something I think you mentioned, Ty, in your section, and you said you need data trust throughout the hiring journey. And I think, again, we've all sort of got our personal opinions on the use of AI and the trust element of it. So how do you ensure that within a platform like TeamTailor that we can trust the AI that is in the system?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, first of all, I guess from just a general sort of GDPR perspective, like when you're a candidate and you apply for a job, platforms like TeamTailor have like a GDPR fully compliant system in place. So full well if you apply for a job, you're going to be told that you are on this system for this amount of time, and beyond this point, 12 months, whatever, your data will be removed from the system. So that's from a candidate point of view, you can rest assured. And then from a hiring manager point of view as well, that tool means that there's going to be no risk when it comes to storing candidate data. And we've got like deletion mechanisms. So once they reach a point, 12 months again, as an example, their profile will be removed. Because obviously that's very, very important, especially with the volume of candidates that companies are getting at the moment. Like managing that can be really difficult. From an AI perspective as well, like most platforms will have their own sort of encrypted AI. So although we're using AI in these systems to, again, measure candidates and vet candidates, they don't go outside into like, a wider ecosphere. They're just sort of set within that one platform and that one company, which you've opted in for anyway. So, your data will be stored within that company, but it will be contained within that company as well. If that answers your question.
Yeah, great, thank you. I think it's a common question that we get from our clients, again, just because they're not as familiar with using systems sometimes and the use of AI. So yeah, it's really useful to know. Thank you.
I think as well, just on that very quickly, I think it does get overlooked when you think of candidates, because it is quite a taboo subject. It's quite scary when you sort of think about it. Like you've got spreadsheets of candidates and CVs all on your desktop and dashboards all over the place. But actually, it's very important that you keep it all stored and contained in one system, because it's locked within a compliant system. Because it's unlikely, but if there is a breach of data somewhere, it can really affect you as a company in the long run. So it's very important. Not always the most glamorous subject, but very important.
And I would just add to that the data that we're using that underpins the AI is actually of the candidate themselves. So it's not just external information that the candidate's given us, like on a CV. It's also, you know, how do they perform in the interview, transcription, for example, that we automatically take. How did they score on the card? So when we want to use AI to help us inform our decisions, but not make them, as we mentioned, is our task here, is our stance here at TeamTailor. The information the AI is actually pulling from is information we've sourced ourselves throughout the hiring journey as well. It's not just what the candidate's telling us, which allows us to trust that data a bit more, because we've got that through interviews, through, you know, multiple people assessing the candidate and bringing it together. And again, like Ty mentioned, that data is only accessible by the people that should be able to access it. So the AI will only allow you to pull from the data that you have access to as a user. So very compliant as well.
I think it's also really important for businesses to come at this as well, because I was watching something where a student, a graduate, was applying for jobs, and she was being genuine, loading her genuine CV, but was insulted, you know, within minutes of her applying. So her response was, well, I then need to be using AI. And I think it's really important that, as you were saying, that companies remain true to who they are when it comes to hiring, and try and avoid letting the AI do the work for them, making sure that they're not missing out, and in which the candidate then feels like that's their only option to ever get a chance of actually winning the job themselves. So it is really interesting to see it from both aspects as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you. I'll move to Grace now. Have we had any other questions come through from our attendees?
We've had one come through for team at TeamTailor. So somebody has asked, where AI is a big part of modern platforms, how can organisations still make sure that us as the humans are still the ones making the final call?
Very good question. Shall I go, Cal, or would you like to go?
No, you go ahead, Ty. I'll weigh in.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I think, like we've said in this whole presentation, it's really important to not let AI take over everything you're doing. So, you know, then we do become robots. And I think especially with recruitment and HR and stuff within this industry, like, it's a very people-led thing that we do. And, you know, you need to make human decisions. You know, it's about human relationships, human interaction. That's what builds good teams and good culture. So I think it's just making sure that that's not completely taking over your life, and it's not just becoming completely AI. I think what's really important is to, you know, just check with the team that you're working with, check with yourselves, and just make sure that, you know, you're not just constantly doing that, you know, and you taking that human element out of it. I think specifically with us, like, we built a platform that is very much an assistant. You know, that's why it's called Copilot, because it's your Copilot that's sat next to you, that's helping you and enabling you to make better decisions and helping you with the repetitive tasks, but it's not actually making the decisions for you. So I think a lot of systems are aware of that, you know, and they don't want to go too far down that way. So I think the systems do that in a good way. But I think for teams specifically, just, you know, stay in check, make sure you're still human first, and it's not sort of completely taking over. You could probably do, like, I don't know, spot checks on some of the team and just make sure you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, Ty's really touched on it really well there. I think if I think about TeamTailor, the system is designed so that you actually can't make decisions with AI. So it's not going to let you, you know, you can't say, can you please, you know, move the top three candidates based on what you have through to this stage immediately. Like, you'd have to go in and do that still as a user to make sure that it's going to be, you know, a decision that you make. You use AI to surface, and you can group information and weigh it, and like I said, it can help inform that decision, but it's not going to make the call for you. And that's something that's actually designed into the system. So, and there are systems out there that are starting to go, you know, let AI do the first screening bit, let AI sift. Like, that is happening. So they're kind of really backing their AI to be compliant, which we all know it probably won't be 100%. So yeah, it depends on how the system's actually built as well, and how the AI functionality is embedded as well, which is really critical here.
Yeah, it's like within TeamTailor, we don't have like an automatic reject button because, we feel like, there is a section where you can go and reject a candidate eventually. But if you're automating everything and rejecting candidates without any interaction, like what's the point in doing it? And it's funny because on LinkedIn or a few other places, you can see a lot of posts where it's like, beat the bot. How can we beat the bot? Which I'm sure you've all seen before. But it's not necessarily like that, really. There is AI there that's doing that initial stuff, but actually it's the humans that are making the decisions at the end of the day.
Great, thank you both for that. That's all
Cool.
I've had come through so far, but I'll keep an eye out for any others.
Lovely, thank you. Well, we're probably out of time now. Probably move on to our closing slides. So I had put together a few key action points, really, just to sort of summarise everything that we've been talking about today. And really, I've put them up here. If move on to the next slide for me, great. So there's a few pointers here that things that we're already advising our clients, but I think have really come to the fore throughout our conversation today. So first of all, to audit your current hiring processes and also your hiring strategy as well before implementing a system. Because whilst technology, like we've talked about, it can enable the whole process of recruitment, having that strategy behind those processes already will be the key to delivering the results. So there is a risk that introducing the tech into maybe like a poorly designed process already, it might actually like magnify any existing problems rather than solving them. So it's doing that audit, doing that review first of all. So you'd want to be looking at things like what your process is already, how your candidates move through your process so far, what are the delays, what could be the bottlenecks that you see, and then also how you currently make your hiring decisions. And then again, what system can be put in place to help you in that process. And I think as Callum or Ty said, like the most successful organisations that we've seen do this already, they start by understanding what they want to achieve, and then they select the technology that is going to support those goals for them. And then next, to choose and implement the best system for your business. So the best solution is going to be one that is going to align with your business needs. So the volumes of recruitment that you're going to be doing, the volumes of applications that you can foresee you're going to be getting. So obviously depends on what kinds of role you are recruiting for. But also along with your culture, what do you want to put out there as your employer brand in this process? So, and I think this is where Sam talking about ensuring that the systems are implemented fully, that they're easy to use is a kind of a big one for your candidates, but also for your hiring managers, and making sure that they are confident in using the system. There's no point in putting in a system and then it doesn't get used, because it's a tricky one to use. And then again, I think Sam said her favorite thing to look at was the reporting capabilities, definitely, if that's the data that you need to get out of your systems. Don't forget as well to look at any integration with any current HR systems that you might already have. And again, that's something that Sam and Tugela People will look at with you. So once you've chosen the right system for your business, hopefully you'll choose it so that it complements your strategy, your processes, ensuring it's implemented thoroughly and effectively. Defining what a good candidate actually means for you and your business. So one of the biggest recruitment challenges that we see organisations face is that lack of clarity really around what they're actually looking for. So we always advise, if there's a recruitment situation, before even going through the hiring process or looking at your systems, we advise to look at the role design first of all, not making that knee-jerk reaction to backfill a role that looks exactly the same as it has done for years, and with exactly the same person that you've had in the post before. So it's considering at that stage what the things like essential skills, experience, the behaviours, competencies, etc., that you want going forward to align with your business. And then, like Ty was talking about, the selection criteria. So you want to set that out as well for the role that you're hiring for, and ensuring that your system and any AI tools that you use to screen do match up with that. So you can then have meaningful information rather than the system creating any inconsistencies in that process. And then I think a big thing that we've talked about here is if you are using AI, to keep that human touch, because ultimately recruitment is it's a people-centered process, isn't it? So any touch points with a candidate does need to have some kind of personal communication, the meaningful discussions through the interviews or assessment process, timely feedback. So like that Ty was saying, not just to decline in a candidate coming through, but actually having a genuine engagement with potential candidates coming through, and then for the candidate to engage with you as the potential employer as well. So I think the key message really is that tech can support the experience, but not to replace the human interaction at key stages of that hiring journey. And then a big sort of HR point from me is ensuring that your managers are trained in the systems and the processes that you have in place for hiring. So even the best recruitment strategy, the best systems that you've put in place, they can fail if your managers are not equipped to use them effectively. So ensure your managers know and understand the importance of the process that they're following in terms like compliance, fairness, how to assess candidates like consistently, again with the support of the technology as well, the importance of record keeping. I'm always going to say that in terms of HR, ensuring that their decision making is documented, and that's what Cal was talking about in terms of the system really supporting with that part of the process. So this, unfortunately, we do see this as one of the things that organisations don't always focus on, so that's why I wanted to add it as a key takeaway today. And finally, just in terms of the use of AI, ensuring that there is that responsible use of it as it becomes more common in recruitment and hiring decisions and the world of work anyway. Businesses basically have to remain accountable for any decisions that are being made, just to avoid discrimination, and obviously the data protection and the privacy requirements that we've touched upon today. So thank you. That is our sort of wrap up of our session today. I have got a couple more slides here just to talk through how we can support you with this situation, or these challenges that you might be seeing from Impact HR. So we've got a slide on here, there's lots of words on here, but I wanted to sort of draw your attention to things like training programs that we can provide. And it is that training of your hiring managers really for the recruitment process, again, just to ensure that they are fully up to speed and aware of the process that they're doing, and any of the potential pitfalls that we want them to avoid. So do get in touch if there is anything that you would like support on training wise, or any other sort of people challenges that you might have in your business. I also just wanted to highlight our website, because we have got a few free tools that you can access on there and download. So I just wanted to flag that to you in case you hadn't seen them already. So we've got things like a checklist for the Employment Rights Act, obviously a hot topic at the moment. We've got a HR like audit function that can be really, really useful to see where you're at and what might need work on. And we have like a sexual harassment risk assessment, which again, really useful tool to show that you are being proactive in this area, especially with the upcoming legislation we're expecting on that in October. And we also have our hub on our website where you will find our webinar archive. So this webinar today is being recorded. You will find it on the hub, along with all of our previous webinars too, if you want to go back and have a look at those. So just a final thank you. Thanks for joining the webinar today, or watching the recording back. And after this webinar, for any attendees, you will get a link to the recording as well, and also our contact details. So as we've all mentioned throughout, if you did want any contact with any of us on the webinar today about any support that we can provide your organisation, please do reach out. And that's it from me. So if anybody else wants to say bye, and then we can wrap up. And thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for your time. It's been fun.
Thank you.